wanting to get to know Anne Lister better, we'll naturally start by exploring her journals to find Anne's own voice within the millions of words that she left behind. But we're lucky that the Shibden Hall archives contain thousands of other documents, including household accounts, wills, letters, and even school books that can give us a broader picture of the lives of its inhabitants. One fascinating jigsaw piece that forms part of the bigger picture of Anne and her life is music, and two particular books belonging to her dated 1806 and 1807 give us a rare glimpse into her teenage years and have the potential to unlock insights into her character, her influences and her motivations. These aren't ready-made collections bought from a shop, but are individual pieces of sheet music that Anne would have selected, bought, collated and had bound, making them the playlists of their day. As music wasn't cheap and she wasn't yet rich, these would clearly have been her favourites, and her choices can tell us a great deal. In Anne's youth, female accomplishment was highly prized, and amongst such skills as sewing, painting and dancing, being able to play an instrument was a popular activity for any girl who had the luxury of leisure time. In certain social classes, it was even considered part of a woman's homemaking duties to entertain her family of an evening, and musical skill certainly gave you a head start in the marriage market. Anne was always uncompromisingly herself, and as a child she was an unruly tomboy with a fascination for traditionally masculine subjects such as science and agriculture. She even set out to teach herself ancient Greek and Roman poetry. And this makes it all the more interesting to discover 15-year-old Anne avidly pursuing these quite feminine and genteel pastimes of singing and playing the piano. The motivation would certainly not have been to attract her husband. It seems she was always a musical child. She excelled in dancing at school, and this postscript added to a letter by her mother shows her pride in her daughter's elegance. But Anne herself tells us that she prefers music to dancing. She's clearly already very skilled by the age of just 12, when she steps in for a local church organist who is absent. But I think the key to understanding the intensity of her music making during the years 1806 and 1807 may lie in the fact that she was experiencing her first taste of love and intimacy with another girl at the manor school in York. Eliza Raine, of half Indian parentage, and Tearaway Anne had been allocated an attic room there together. Outcasts from the dormitory that the other girls shared, their powerful connection led them to secretly exchanging vows. They'd barely been out of each other's company when Anne had to leave the school, and they could only then meet during school holidays. They communicated by letter and often sent each other gifts of music. The first book we're exploring was most likely started whilst Anne was at school, as many of the front pages have Lister written on them, and it's usually in a communal setting like this that we label our belongings. But what may have started as a compulsory task clearly becomes a passion. The second book intensifies and becomes more personal. This occupation of gathering and learning music was quite likely now an intellectual distraction and an emotional outlet at a period of separation and intense love. When I think of Anne Lister, I immediately think words, and just as her journaling seems to have been prompted by Eliza's departure after a visit to the Lister family home, so it seems at this point Anne also turns her attention to song. Nearly 2/3 of this second volume are vocal pieces, many with extremely apt titles.
My lovely brunette, my lovely brunette, the arch hazel eyes of my lovely brunette.
One in particular is particularly poignant and relevant to their situation. It's as if the words have been written for them.
Under sweet friendship's sacred name, my bosom cold a tender flame, may friendship in thy bosom be converted into love for me. Ma chère amie, ma chère amie, ma chère amie, ma chère Together reach, together grow. Oh, let us now unite in one. Let pity soften thy decree. I do debate, I die for thee. Ma chère amie, ma chère amie, ma chère amie, ma chère
Some of the other songs have strangely prophetic titles that look ahead to her now famous travels.
Oh, thou briskly then the way-worn traveller threads the mazes toward the mountain's top.
There are songs of love from both male and female perspectives in the collection, but one of Anne's choices is particularly interesting, and this is Antonio's favourite song from a comic opera by Gretry. Here the role of Antonio is often taken by a woman, a breeches role, like a woman being a principal boy in Panto. Anne makes the song even more relevant to her situation by adding her own words and the line, "Take, oh take me to you." Anne was probably the dominant or stereotypically masculine partner in her relationship with Eliza, so it seems completely natural that this piece appears.
How sweet and charming is thy love whenever the trips the daisies made, as light as air seed seems to tread. Though bounding high, does never fleeter, love and I know where to meet her, to whisper softly in her ear tender vows of love sincere. Ah me that you never can view the beauties of thy dear. Take, oh take me to you.
The songs aren't all of love though, and we see the beginning of Anne's enjoyment of swashbuckling ballads that tell of daring adventure, often aboard ship, a reflection of the public's obsession at the time with the progress of now famous sea battles. A huge proportion of the music overall is for the keyboard, and Anne probably played her Aunt Anne's spinet or harpsichord at Shibden when she was not at school, and she talks of having it moved to her study, so it's not an activity of public display but something more personal. The pencil markings throughout the books tell us a great deal about her intelligence and skill for the instrument. The repertoire includes some really quite advanced pieces, and like everything else she attempts in life, she appears to tackle learning the piano in the same thorough way. Some of the repertoire provides great opportunity to show off. It's natural to think that because the music comes from the 18th and 19th centuries that it must be pigeonholed as classical, but that simply isn't the case. Although there are some pieces that would be considered high art, a large proportion are by composers who wrote the pop music of the day, music that can be found in other contemporary collections, such as that owned by Jane Austen and her family hundreds of miles away in Hampshire. There is music based on folk tunes, dance music, ballads, a huge number of songs from the shows, and even pieces written by locals for the Halifax and Wharfdale Volunteer Corps. There are also piano duets. And as Anne's feelings for Eliza cool a little, we see her pursuing Miss Alexander and giving her daily lessons. And I can easily imagine these pieces being a great excuse for extreme physical closeness. So what does a journey through Anne Lister's music tell us? We can see that she loved beautiful melody and dramatic harmony. She was a huge romantic who liked to dance and who was patriotic and optimistic. One piece in particular epitomises her insatiable appetite for life, and it is one of the few written by composers we recognise today, Mozart.
away with every toil and care, and cease the wrangling form to wear. With manful hearts life's conflict meet, till death founds the retreat. Life let us cherish, while yet the taper glows, and a fresh flowerlet pluck ere it close.
The collection also confirms things we already know, that she was hugely talented, excelled at everything she chose to turn her hand to, and never did anything half-heartedly. I've only really scratched the surface of this collection here, and it represents just the start of her love affair with music. We later find Anne drifting to a more masculine approach to the art, including learning the flute, a very improper instrument for a lady at the time. So to discover more about this and to hear many of the pieces I've mentioned in full, along with others, recorded live at Shibden Hall, please do follow the link to the Square Pianist YouTube channel and join me for more insights and glimpses into Anne's musical life.